Salute, MobTube. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody is well. I am looking forward to this show very much. As you know, this is kind of a special edition with everything that's going on with MIMS. I believe we should probably speak about her and, unfortunately, Neil and the fentanyl crisis as a whole. I think it would be a good idea to start using this platform to kind of raise awareness to the fentanyl epidemic and also push the idea that Gemini 44 came up with for everybody to go out and get some Narcan, keep it on you wherever you go, keep it close by at least. And just like the ticker says down below, unfortunately, we couldn't save Mims, but maybe we can save a life in her memory. I believe we can. If everybody goes out and gets that Narcan, I believe we can. Whether it's a family member, somebody struggling with opiate addiction, or it's you come across somebody passed out in a vehicle or on the street or in a store or anything else. It wouldn't be hard to come across somebody ODing from fentanyl or opiates in general at this point. It's happening every day, everywhere. So we're going to talk about that. Yes, that's right. Justice for MIMS, absolutely. And we are going to have the wonderful Kimberly Berlin on to help us. Now, if you don't know who Kimberly Berlin is, you're all familiar with Don Berlin, our friend. Great guy, fantastic dude, wonderful friend to me. I couldn't be more grateful for his friendship, the things he's done for me and this channel, and you guys in the chat as well. I can never thank him enough. So his wonderful, lovely wife, Kimberly, will be joining us. Kimberly has a lot of titles, and I don't have all of them memorized. I do know she's a trauma specialist. She's an addiction specialist, and she will be coming on to join us, and she can reintroduce herself and list all her titles for you. Also, if anybody wants to reach out to Kimberly for any reason, okay, even if in the ladies community, if you want to have a trauma specialist on, Kimberly has offered her services, of course, free of charge. She'll come on, join your show, and try to help you guys through, your grief and everything that's going on. And if you just want to reach out to her as far as some type of drug and alcohol counseling, she's open to that as well. She's offering her services. So, as you could see in the ticker at the bottom here, her phone number and email address are in there. Oh, of course, Kimberly. I am honored to have you on. Honored. I was honored last time, and I'm honored this time. And Kimberly might be making several appearances in the near future here. So I just sent you the link, Kimberly. I apologize so much. From the moment I woke up, there's been drama. There's been issues. I've been on the phone. I've been talking to people through text and email, and a lot going on MobTube right now. It is a complete and total effing nightmare for me at this point. It is. And I'll maybe if I decide to come back on tonight, I will talk about all that stuff. Seems people have a lot of questions for me, and I'd be glad to answer them. In the meanwhile, people can make their assumptions, talk their shit, and try to cause division every chance they get, because that's what they do. But this show will be about MIMS, fentanyl awareness, and Kimberly and her expertise and everything she has to offer. It's coming for you, York. Yeah, I don't know what that means, Yor. I don't know what that means, but please block Lore. Let's see. FBS True, a few things I'm curious about, but at the moment, my mind is on MIMS. Yes, I was going to text you earlier, and I will be texting you a little later on, Miss Campy. Let me see if there's any other comments I want to read before I bring Kimberly on. Exactly. Please get Narcan. Anyone can come in contact with fentanyl. Yes. Anyone. You never know. And that's another thing. It doesn't even have to be somebody using the drug. It doesn't have to be. Like I said, you could touch a dollar bill that has a speck of fentanyl on it, and you can overdose, or somebody close to you can. So it's handy. It's useful no matter what. Oh, all right, Aldo. Well, we won't be talking about them. So Aldo is a good dude. He's been doing a lot for me, and I appreciate him very much, Aldo. You're the man, bro. I look forward to getting to know you better. Thank you, Miss Can't Be Wrong. Yes, I was waiting for this one to arrive. It came yesterday. I ordered this one from the Polo store because they did not have my size, so they had to ship it to me. Thank you. Um, so, all right, I'm going to bring Kimberly. Are you ready? If you need a minute, it's fine. I'm looking at Kimberly backstage. All right, I think Kimberly is getting ready. Hang on. Yeah, she said just 1 minute. No problem, Kimberly. Whenever you're ready. Uh, who? The sit down. Oh, no sign of Rosso. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll talk about that later. Okay. Somebody sent me a screenshot of a guy named Deadeye asking a question to SoFlo about me wishing death on Rosso. I did, and I stand by it. Okay. And if anybody wants to debate me on that topic or has some sort of issue with it, hopefully I'll be coming back on today at some point, and I will gladly drop the link for you and verbally annihilate you with no problem. If not, tomorrow. Okay. 658. I picked up 4 Narcans today at the pharmacy, 1 for each of our vehicles and 2 for the home. Oh, that's awesome, bro. How did you do it? What did it take to get them? Ritzy, what's up, bro? Listen, same to you. Everyone is over here. Hopefully, you and your family are doing good as well. Unfortunately, a friend of ours is, well, I don't even know what to say, but in trouble, I guess we'll say. And we're going to do everything we can to show her love and support. Let me see if Kimberly's ready. Okay, Kimberly's ready. Here we go. Please welcome the wonderful and lovely wife of Don Berlin, our friend, Kimberly Berlin.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much. Listen, before we start, I just want to say to everyone, the whole community, I watched the show last night on the other channel. I've been keeping up bits during the day of what happened. I just want to tell everyone how terribly, terribly sorry I am to hear of this news. This is really tragic. And my heart goes out to the family of Mims, her son, and this family, this community. And each and every one of you, I know you're holding grief, you're holding pain, shock, and I'm holding you in my heart, each and every one of you. I've been praying for all of you, for Mims, all day. And so I just want to say, coming together tonight, I'm here for you, for answering questions, however I can be of help. And I also know that as we're sort of coming together in this way, we have an opportunity, which is a blessing, to really honor Mims.
Absolutely.
To honor the community of recovery, right?
Yes.
Because that's what we do. We come together, and that we really can overcome only together. We can't do it alone, right? So we become closer with love and support as we extend it outward to Mims and her family. I think that begins to help us to heal. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that up front.
Well, thank you for that, Kimberly. It's a horrible situation. We all lost a friend here in 2 separate communities. I'm glad to see that both communities were able to come together to show love and support for Mims. And what even her friends on here are going through is probably nothing compared to what her loved ones and her kids and grandkids are going through. So my heart goes out to them. And I don't know what to say. This is just a devastating event that took place.
Yeah, it's and so unfortunately, I deal with this in my life as an addiction therapist day in, day out. You know,
Yeah.
we lose people left, right, and center. And so when we do lose people, it becomes really, really hard. Particularly as therapists, when we lose people, we get sort of inured, if you will. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't know MIMS, but I know this community, and I know you, Chris, and so it impacts me indirectly, right? But the thing that really is so troubling is all of the variables that have come together in this situation, right? Everything
Yeah.
from the dangers of online connecting in this day and age. You don't know who's out there. Documentaries and movies left, right, and center about catfishing and this and that and the other. You have to be careful. You have to be really careful. And that's a terrible way to live in this day and age, right? Not to be able to trust anybody. And the other thing is that, and I think you mentioned this, Chris, the other night, you don't take anything, you don't put anything in your mouth unless you got it from a doctor or an over-the-counter prescription, like Tylenol, and you bought it and you unpacked the package. You don't put anything in your mouth. You just don't.
Yeah.
Because we don't know, right? And the same, I mean, we've heard this for years now. If you're a female particularly, and you're in
Yes.
a social situation, you never, ever, ever accept a drink from anyone. I don't care if it's
No.
right. And so a situation like this is so horribly frustrating, right? Because we've got free will, we're, adult people, and we trusted someone and said, sure, okay, yeah, my back is hurting, I'll take this, right?
Yeah.
And that's and that's it. And then, we're off. Yeah. Now we're here. So I guess, this, I think that in and amongst our grief and the sense of trauma this community is feeling, we have to sort of flush out some of the variables here, and really raise the awareness across the community, men and women. Right. If a woman is going to be a little bit, standoffish, a man shouldn't take it personally. Look what look where we're at. It's that kind of thing, interpersonal dynamics, all of that kind of thing. And there's so many variables here. And I think that's why it just compounds the sense of grief and loss and tragedy, really. Yeah.
I know, and going back to what you were saying about females especially being vulnerable in this situation, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I said, it's crazy because we always had to worry for our daughters and sisters and whatever else our friends that may be females. We always had to worry about them taking something that could wind up being a date rape drug or roofie, whatever it may be. Now there's this shit on top of it. Now you got people trying to convince women they are close to take a pill, and they're tricking them by telling them it's something else. It's such a horrible situation. This world we live in is out of control.
It is out of control. I see it every day. It's out of control. And I see it in my clients' children, in the terms of my clients just pulling their hairs out with their teenagers or young adult children. We don't know. The thing is, I mean, we don't know the minutia, the in the grass details here, but in the light, sort of most benign, this person might have thought that this was perfectly fine, it was just a Percocet or something, and didn't know it was laced, right? But the bottom line is the danger in this day and age of any pill out there, and I mean any pill, period, being laced with fentanyl is almost 100%.
Oh yeah.
Almost 100%. If you haven't opened the bottle of Excedrin or Advil, if you didn't pick up the prescription from the doctor yourself, right, don't touch it, because guaranteed there is going to be a very, very high percentage likelihood that it's laced with something. Hell, kids are dying of smoking pot laced with fentanyl. Right? Because now, of course, cannabis is legal. So sure, smoke pot. Okay. And they're getting pot that's laced with fentanyl. Why? I don't know.
Yeah.
But, that's.
Nobody does. Nobody. It makes no sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, someone like Dawn can really talk to some of the more more international kind of issues. But I do know from my experience years ago in the Department of Defense, when we were looking at the heroin trade coming from China, right, and from Afghanistan and circling the globe up through South America into Mexico and into America. And that was at the time of oxycodone really, blasting across the country. The opiate crisis, they called it. And because of the opiate crisis, then we had a heroin epidemic. Well, that now has, morphed into a fentanyl epidemic.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying. I want to bring you and your all of your
audience.
all of the audience. Goodness, spit it out. Want to bring a book to your attention because this is really a powerful book. I recommend everybody to read this so that you can understand how this thing has happened, right?
Okay.
It's called Dreamland. I don't know if you can see it properly.
Yes, Sam Quinones. Yeah.
Dreamland, right? Dreamland by Sam Quinones, who is an investigative reporter. And he literally traces the opiate epidemic from start to finish, literally from a sentence in a journal to finish, right? And I think he's doing a new one now on fentanyl. So just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. It's a very easy read. It's a page turner, but it really gives a perspective of how this is all coming into our country. It's coming in over the borders with illegal immigration, et cetera, through the cartels and China, number one, China.
Yeah, I know.
So, Don could talk to more about that, the whole international aspect, but I've got theories.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't have time to read it, but I have Audible credits. So I will get it on Audible and I'll listen to it. Yeah, JFit has a question here. She wants to know, how can we be more vigilant and protect our friends?
Good, very good question. And I think here's what I would advise anyone, particularly a woman, because listen, I mean, date, rape, drugs, and all of that, it doesn't know a gender, right? So it can happen to men and women, right? But as a woman and speaking to women, I think that the way that we can stay really vigilant is to always make ourselves available to our friends and our family members, to not have judgment if, for instance, they have chronic pain and they're on a medication, but rather to be compassionate, but also to let them know, hey, listen, are you checking in with your doctor? Are you letting them know that you're also having a glass of wine on this stuff, that kind of thing? Or do you really think you should, be taking that extra dose? You've already had one today. That's not a judgment. That's, bringing awareness and attention to an individual. The other thing, and you talked about it last night, Chris, and Gemini 44 really brought this to the forefront. Narcan is available at CVS.
Can you just go in and request it and pick it up?
Absolutely, 100%. Just walk in and say, hi, I'd like some Narcan, and that's it. And you go in, you pick it up at Walgreens, right? It is now readily available. That's how bad this epidemic is. It's readily available. And so, put it in your backpack, put it in your briefcase, put it in your glove compartment, put it in your console, put it in your purse, have it in your home, in the bathroom, what have you, because it works. It works. And so I think the other way, I think that we also have to advocate for ourselves with our doctors, because doctors, they have 1 hour of addiction studies in med school. Pain meds are still given out way too freely. It's crazy. I have a client actually who I just read the riot act to a couple of weeks ago. She's on 6 different muscle relaxants.
Oh my God!
I'm like, what?
And
Yes.
who gives her 6 different prescriptions?
Her doctor, because she has fibromyalgia. And instead of saying get massage and move your body, right, which is what really will help fibromyalgia and deal with the, you know, the psychological issues that you're hanging on to, the grief and what have you. No, add another pill. 6, right? So we have to advocate with our doctors. You know, we have to be educated. We have to educate ourselves. They're not going to educate us. They're just going to give the prescription, right? But we have to stop and say, wait a minute, you're giving me this thing. What is it, right? What for? What are the side effects, right? How long? Why? You know, we have to ask questions of our own medical providers, right? And I think the other thing is that we seriously educate ourselves as much as possible, Go to the CDC website, where, you know, they have a lot of information on fentanyl. Go to the DEA website, go to, you know, any Google, you know, and there it is. Use AI, whatever you can get it, right? Get the information and start, you know, bringing it in, really, really bring it in. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Japhid, just to, you know, she wants to make this clear. Mims was in chronic pain. She was told the pills were pain meds, perks. Neil admitted he knew there was fentanyl in it. He did not tell her, or she would not have taken it. End of story. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, JFID, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, he absolutely, he convinced her to take it. He did.
So, you know, that's massive irresponsibility, obviously. And not a nice thing to do. And I think, you know, when we're up against something like this, you know, addiction does some pretty strange shit to your brain. Drugs do some pretty strange shit to your brain. So if this guy knew that fentanyl, you know, was in this stuff, who knows if he was taking it himself? Who knows, right? We don't know.
He was on a patch. He was on a fentanyl.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. He was on a patch. Okay, so his brain is already compromised.
Yeah.
All right. So now his brain is compromised, and he's going to do things that are not when he is not of his right mind. So, you know, doing something like this, he may have thought, oh, well, it's working for me. It'll help you, right? In the light most favorable. But if the pendulum was in the other direction and he purposefully gave someone, you know, a drug that he knew would kill them, that's a whole different other story.
Well, not to cut you off, but unfortunately we have to go with that one because he did nothing to help her. He basically abandoned her in a parking lot. He called 911, said there's a woman unresponsive in her car, did not tell the cops where the van was, what type of van, how to find her. He took her ID with him. You know, he made sure for whatever reason that it was going to be as hard as possible for them to locate and rescue her. Yeah, it's very sick, Kimberly.
Okay, so now we have an individual who has, shall we say, a malignant intent, right? If his intent was to kill her, right? Now we're looking at, you know, a psychopath, right? Yeah. A total psychopath. And then we approach this entire thing very, very differently. Right. The full extent of the law. Unfortunately, if it's in California, good luck, you know, because of the DAs down there, they don't prosecute a damn thing. They're hopeless. They're useless. However, you know, this also goes back to, we have got to be so careful of who we entrust with our life. Right. And we, you know, I don't have a gazillion friends. I have very few friends who I'm very close with, and they know that I will go to the ends of the earth for them. I don't go online, social media. I mean, I have a social media presence, but it's professional. You know, I don't have friends on social media. I think a lot of this has gone down avenues that are very, very dangerous. And we have to be careful. And unfortunately, because we've been so isolated because of COVID for so many years now, right? It's really caused a lot of loneliness, a lot of sense of disconnection. And so, you know, we come into different communities, whether it's this or any other community out there, you know, whether it's on a LinkedIn or a Facebook or this, that, or the third, and we feel like we're connecting with someone, and oh, you know, we're texting every day and we're getting to know them so well, but we've never met them.
Yeah.
We don't know where they live. We haven't seen their home. We don't know how they dress. We don't know what aftershave or what perfume they're wearing. We have not met their parents. We don't know.
We
Right?
can't risk trusting them. We can't risk trusting somebody. No.
And I hate to say that, right? I really do. I hate to say that because it creates such, you know, a barrier, right? And all of my work is connect and compassion and, you know, and heal, but it does create such a barrier. So I think, as hard as it is, if you haven't met someone, right, in person with you know, someone with you, right?
Yeah.
There's something to be said for chaperones. There's something to be said for bringing a girlfriend along. There's something to be said for that, because it's a way to protect ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And you know, there's a lot to be said for meeting people, you know, in real life, like at churches or at book clubs or, you know, other venues, right? But even if we do meet and connect in different online communities, we really have to be very, very mindful, very careful. I can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're giving these tips because, you know, along with, you know, trying to push everybody to go out and get some Narcan to carry with them, these are also tips that can save a life, what
You're
you're
right.
telling everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brooklyn, I'm going to pull up. Unfortunately, I can't get to every comment or question. I'm going to do my best. But Brooklyn has a very good question. She wants to know, are there risks to giving someone Narcan? She said she doesn't know much about it. It's a very good question.
Yeah, a good question. No, just use as directed. You basically, you're taking it looks like an inhaler, and you're just taking that inhaler and you are putting it in the nostril and pressing down once, twice, and someone will come back. In the meantime, have someone else dial 911, etc. I think the other thing, I mean, again, this is my background, but, you know, I think it helps if you know CPR. I think it helps if you know some basic medical stuff like CPR, and know protocol, right? You see someone in a car slumped over, pick up the phone, dial 911 first before you do anything. I'm here at a car, there's someone slumped over. Then let the person on the phone on 911 talk you through what to do. You know?
Yeah, that's a very good idea. Let them know I'm about to administer Narcan.
Yeah, if you don't know, let the EMT people, police people, let them know. They'll tell you what to do. Right. But if you have it in your home, if you have it in your car, if you have it in your briefcase, purse, backpack, what have you, literally read the instructions. They're very, very clear. They're like dumbified, you know, and you just follow, and you can't go wrong, because what you're doing is you're getting the Narcan through the nostrils and forcing that up into the brain, and it stops the effect of the opioids on the brain.
All right. Yeah, that's
happening. Yeah. Oh, liability. One of the things I wanted to remind everybody here is there Good Samaritan law. It ensures that if you try to help someone who's injured or, you know, has overdosed, and you're helping them with Narcan or what have you, there's no liability for being a Good Samaritan. None.
Yeah, that's what makes this situation sadder, is that he could have done some. There was actually a fire station right across the street, and
okay, that's not good. And so, as I said, unfortunately, we really, dealing with someone who has sociopathic, psychopathic personality characteristics, and the bottom line is this person needs help himself. because he's not well, right? And look at the damage and the harm he's done. And are some people just hopeless? No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I believe everybody and anybody can recover from drugs and alcohol. I believe it. And there are many, many paths to recovery. And choose one. Just choose one and take that path. If after a while it doesn't seem to be working, go back and try another path. Right?
Yeah, well, I agree, but I have found in some situations that there are people, I've seen this with my own eyes, there are people that for whatever reason, they cannot be clean and sober. Even if they're not doing their drug of choice, they must do something. I saw a situation where a guy hated weed. The thought of smoking marijuana made him sick. But when he was forced to get clean from heroin, he started smoking weed. And I said, but Sean, you hate that. Why are you doing it? And he said to me, Chris, I have to be on something.
Okay.
So
and
I believe there are people like that.
Yeah. Well, and as a therapist, I would say, you think a part of you thinks that you have to be on something because the part of you that is trying to numb out is trying to stop you from feeling feelings. Okay. And so those parts of us that just go, no, I'm not going to feel the pain, the sadness, or the memory of trauma or whatever it was that happened. Right. And so it doesn't matter. It can be a drug, it can be alcohol, it can be sex, shopping, gambling, social media, video gaming, what have you. Whew. No, I'm not going to feel it. And that's how our system can really be impacted by trauma and by deep grief and a host of different issues that may have happened to us growing up. So what I do when I work with clients who are seemingly, like they'll never get off whatever, is I do a titrate approach while I'm working with the individual in terms of what is going on that you don't want to feel, what remember you don't want to remember, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And I've worked with people, I promise you, I've got several clients who I've worked with who, daily, 10 times a day smoking or popping pills or what have you. And when you just start to titrate a little bit and you're working with an addiction specialist who's going to help you through this, and you're starting to work with the emotional stuff that's causing you to numb out, right? Little by slowly, one step at a time, everything starts to calm down in our system, just starts to calm down, and we can begin to take stock of what's going on. And then go from titrate to, okay, let's see what it's like for one day with nothing, right? And that is a very helpful approach, right? But underneath all of it, you've got lots of psychological work to do. So in that regard, in my world, nobody's hopeless.
Well, it's a good way to look at it. And you're the expert, so we have to defer to you. By the way, real quick, because people are asking in the chat, I didn't give you a proper introduction in the beginning of the show because you have many, many titles. Can you tell everybody exactly what your fields of expertise are?
Sure. Thank you. Okay. So I'm Kimberly Berlin. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I am a certified substance abuse counselor, and I'm a licensed social worker, a clinical social worker in Virginia and Florida, substance abuse counselor in the state of Virginia. I'm a master addiction professional nationwide. I'm a substance abuse professional nationwide. I'm a certified trauma therapist. I'm an IFS level 2, almost level 3 therapist. And I'm a mindfulness trainer. I'm a yoga trainer.
Jesus.
And I've got a whole bunch of other things. My kid sisters tease me that I've got more letters in my after my name than in my name, but everything but the PhD.
So you're slightly educated, Kimberly.
One
Yeah, just a little bit.
one friend of mine said, you're very educated, and I don't like
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Well
educated. Yes.
educated, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I'm a neuroscience nerd, and but I'm also I approach psychotherapy from a very spiritual, not religious, spiritual aspect, and I do a lot of spiritual healing in my work, and people are getting well. They're
It's
getting well.
good.
So yeah,
You're
hopeless
doing.
cases are actually, showing up to sessions of like, you're not gonna believe it, but I really feel good. I'm like, yeah, really? No kidding. So yeah.
You're doing good work, Kimberly.
Yeah.
Like
So
I said, it's an honor to have you here.
well, it's my no, it's my honor. It really is.
Let,
Yeah.
let me ask you now, because of there are many ladies in this community who are very, very close to MIMS, and
Yeah.
they are suffering, they're suffering a lot because of what happened. They were very, very close, and this was devastating news to everyone, and now they have to try to learn how to deal with it. So you are a grief counselor, correct?
Yeah, I do a lot of grief and
Can
trauma. Yeah.
can you give us all an idea of
Yeah.
and I know there's no one size fits all, everybody's different, and it's easier said than done no matter what advice is given, but any tools that you can maybe provide people with to help get through this difficult time.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, you know, the first thing that happens is we get hit with a shock, right? It's a shock. And
Yeah,
whether that's like your grandmother dying, even though she was 95, or
yeah,
a situation like this, death creates a shock, right? 1 minute they're there, and the next they're gone. They're not here. Um, so there is something called the stages of grief that was created by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who did a lot of work in death and dying. And so the first thing that happens is denial, right? No, it's not happening. It's not happening. It can't be happening.
yeah,
Um, but that turns very quickly into anger, right? That shock will go into anger, and that anger can become rage. It can become wanting to lash out, wanting retribution, right? Vindication, vengeance, right? Which when this is how wars start, right? We go way over the top on it, but it's human response, right? So but then once we've worked through some of our anger, now we start bargaining. Well, if I do this and do this and do this and do this, maybe this and this. But the problem is the person doesn't come back.
yeah,
And so that then leads to this tremendous sense of depression, right? Like, oh my God, no, this is just no, no, no. And there is such a syndrome as broken heart syndrome when uh, a spouse dies, and the other spouse dies shortly thereafter from a broken heart, right? Because that sense of loss, that complete and utter, the bottom falling out, is a very real thing. If we can get through the denial, the anger, the bargaining, and the depression, then we sort of can start to get into acceptance. They're not here, right? If it was a very violent death, we accept that, okay, bad things happen, even to good people. It shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. And now I'm going to honor this person, and I'm going to do it in the following way. Right.
yeah.
And it's up to us how we're going to honor that person. So for the women here, I think that the initial shock, right, will give over to enormous anger, right? Like, this is so wrong. This is so wrong. And you're absolutely right. It is wrong. This should never have happened.
No,
Right?
no.
And the way it happened, and the couple of the things you're telling me tonight that I hadn't heard last night, shit, right?
Yeah.
And a
It's a
few other
shame.
choice words I could come up with right now. But so, okay, shit. Now, am I going to hold anger in my heart, or because of a real son of a bitch, right?
Yeah.
Am I going to give him that much power? Or am I going to step back and say, hey, I'm not going to waste my anger on this mofo.
Yeah.
I'm going to take
I
this.
love you, Kimberly. I just
I'm going to take all this emotion, this all of it, right? And I'm going to do something different here. And I'm going to put it in my heart for Mims, for her family, for her son.
Well, she has, just so I know you heard about the son. She does have several kids and grandchildren.
Several old children.
Yeah.
So when we can shift our perception, when we can shift our mindset, when we can shift that energy within us from the rage, the demand of retribution, the vindication of kill the mofo, right?
Yeah.
I want to kill him. Of course, it's legitimate. But we have to ask ourselves, do you really want to give him that much power?
No, I hear you.
Nah.
The energy can be used in a much more positive way.
Turn the energy, exactly. We can alter and change that energy and bring it inward to that place within us, which I call the self with a capital S. It's many names, right? Your soul, your heart center, whatever you want to call it. But when we bring our focus and our attention there, and we focus on being calm, centered, connect to the memory of this individual, this person, right? Connect to her loved ones, connect to our friends in love, in care, right? To even be creative in our thought and how we would set up a memorial, how we would honor her, how we would bring this to the awareness of, media, however we do that, right? Not with an agenda of vengeance, but hey, let's honor someone here. This happens every single day. This is enough already, right? And then we have compassion for ourselves for going through such grief and such anger and such intense energetic emotion, and also compassion for all of the others in the community. And eventually this much compassion for that mofo, because he is really going to end up paying on the karmic scale, the likes of which, in the Buddhist terms, he'll never see another day in his future.
Yeah.
Lives.
There's no doubt about it.
Many lives he'll have to go through. He will be in the 7 realms of hell for many eons in lifetimes for doing this. So we have to sort of say to ourselves, okay, that's up to God or whatever you believe, right? Karma, whatever it is, not on me, that's on him. Yeah. I'm going to take this energy and I'm going to support the women. I'm going to support us. I'm going to support this community. We're going to, let's create a grief circle. Let's create a healing prayer circle. Let's create whatever we can to bring us together and heal from this in a way that channels the energy into a higher level of consciousness.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll tell you what, this thing that Gemini 44 came up with about everybody going out and getting Narcan, using this as a reason to make sure that if any of us are ever around somebody in this predicament, we can possibly save their life. I think that's a great thing. It's a great way to channel the energy because, for instance, I had a friend at 25 years old. my best friend at the time, he died in a horrible car accident. And it was said that if he was wearing his seatbelt, it might have saved his life.
Mm.
So what we all did, and we made a promise to, all of us friends, and there was a lot of us, we made a promise that in his memory, we will all wear our seatbelts from that day forward. And
Yeah.
we all do till this day, as far as I know I do. So,
Right.
it's the
Right.
same type of thing. You could do something maybe to prevent it from happening in that person's honor. And I think that's a great thing.
100%. 100%. And I think so, the Narcan is certainly top of the list, right? There's a lot to be said for ritual, right? When at the site of an accident, you'll see flowers and, wreaths and that kind of thing, or, at any like a shooting, you'll see people put items of love and care, where something happened.
Mm.
We can't do that in this situation, but what we can do is we can have symbolic actions and activities in our own life, to honor the memory of MIMS, right? So light a candle, right?
Yeah.
Say a prayer, right? May her soul be released, but may this never happen again, right?
Yeah.
And I really believe in the collective power of prayer, or, well, you can call it prayer, you can call it whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
Positive thought. But from quantum physics, it's a reality. When you get a group of people thinking the same thing, right? Those thoughts create waves, and those
Yes.
waves go, and then they land.
People
So
don't understand that their
they
thoughts
yeah.
are energy. They
It's
absolutely are.
amazing to me, right? And
Mhm.
so we can, as a community, do so many things that will bring the healing to ourselves, because we really need that, but also to help each other, and to support, because after we have calm and clarity and creative and connection and compassion, we have courage. We have courage to act. We have courage to take another step and do something. And then we have confidence in that courage that I can make a difference.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful, I don't know how to call it, but it's not a theory really. It's I'll call it a theory, but it's not a theory. There's another word for it. But one of my teachers described this within the past year, and it just blew me away. There are 3 layers or levels of conscious thought: consciousness, conscious awareness, conscious being in the world. The first is, the world happens to me.
Yeah.
When the
Yeah.
world happens to me, right, I'm a victim. I'm helpless.
We see a lot of that, Kimberly, on
Don't
here. A lot
we?
of
Every day, right?
yeah.
Oh me, oh my, oh me, right? It's all happening to me. And pity me and poor me, right? Doesn't make us bad people, but makes it very limited consciousness.
Yeah.
If we do some work and we begin to raise our consciousness slightly, we get to the second level. The world happens for me. And now there's a transaction. I help, I receive, and therefore I'm part of a greater good.
Yes.
And then there's a third level. The world happens through me. And I become the vehicle for change. I become the vehicle for enlightenment. I become the vehicle to help others to rise up out of the other layers of consciousness. I
That's
just
how.
love that.
No, absolutely. Yeah. It's great advice too. It's good
Yeah.
for listen, there's stuff people can learn from you throughout this whole thing, because it's not easy. Some
No,
people have dealt with a lot of this in their lifetime. Some people have never been through something like this. Some people, regardless of their age, may have never lost a friend, especially to such a senseless, horrifying tragedy. So, you know,
horrible.
Yes.
I've lost several friends to some absolutely horrible situations that should never have happened. And one years and years ago, when I was still drinking, a girlfriend of mine called me up and she said, listen, I've run into some financial trouble and can you loan me some money? I need to buy some vodka. And I said, I didn't feel comfortable about it. And I said, no, I can't, I'm sorry, I'm busy, this, that, and the other. Kind of blew her off. And the next morning, I got a phone call and a mutual friend had gone over there because she wasn't answering her phone and she was on her bed and she had taken an overdose of pills, had been able to buy a smaller bottle of vodka, and he found her cold and dead on the bed. And that's the end of that.
It's horrible.
And, if I had bought her the vodka or given her the money, would she not have taken the pills? I don't know.
And that's the problem. You don't know. So it does create
know.
guilt. But most likely, that most likely it wouldn't have changed anything.
I think her day was, her days were numbered, right? But, there's so many other tragic things that happen that don't involve drugs or alcohol. And you sort of, you wonder, like, what the hell, right? Someone who died in a rafting accident, or like your friend who died in a car accident, or like, what, why? And I think that's the part of the grief and that sense of trauma and loss. Mims's real name is Teresa. Did I just see that?
Yes, Teresa. Yes.
All right. Thank you. It's very hard for us to wrap our head around, but I think that's why if we engage in some sort of action that is meaningful for us or for the individual, that we knew that was meaningful for the individual. There sometimes I see on a lot of the yoga channels and what have you, at noon we'll all come together and pray for 3 minutes, right? Things like that bring us together and help to heal, right?
Yeah.
It helps to heal. Yeah.
Well, that's what I love about these addiction recovery shows.
Yeah.
It offers support to people, and it really does give people a place to come and find comfort.
Absolutely. And I mean, and what you've done here to bring not just this community, but several communities together is just extraordinary, Chris. It really is. I mean, you really should be lauded for this. You've rallied the troops, literally, and God bless you for it.
In reality, Kimberly, I'm just a babbling, fat, bald idiot in Pennsylvania.
I don't think so.
I deserve zero credit.
I don't think so.
Just ask anybody on YouTube. I'm a horrible individual, Kimberly.
No, that's just
pure
part of you. That's just a part of you. Tell that part that's not helpful right now to be going down that pathway right now. No, just give me some space. Don't need that right now. Right? Yeah. No, you've done. Yeah, please, more comments, right?
Yeah, and let me just say a couple of things. Tony Cross made a comment about me not doing these shows for money. I do want to make this clear. First, I want to thank Mike Fleming sent me $10, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Mike. I appreciate that very much. I'm going to carry it over to the next show because I refuse to make $1 in the name of Mims, Teresa. I refuse. I usually don't ask for, I never ask for donations on addiction and recovery shows, but today especially. So if anybody wants to donate to me, feel free to do it on my next show when I tear some people apart. But on this show, it's just about positivity and support for her. So I'm not going to profit on this in any way, shape, or form. Let me see here what we got for you, Kimberly. I want to say to Johnny Methadone, which is actually our friend in Peach. Funny name, I know. He asked about you in the chat. I want to let everybody know, because I know a lot of people don't pay attention to these tickers at the bottom. I never do. Kay's name is in here, her email, and her phone number. And if I'm correct, Kimberly, that is for anybody to use if they want to reach out to you through text, phone call, or email, correct?
100%. Absolutely. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook. But yeah, if you want to contact me, 202-491-8687 is my phone and text. And then my email is kimberley.berlin@gmail.com. My website is kimberlyberlin.com, all one word. Don't forget the LEY. People mess that one up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm available to talk, to help, to give advice, to, you know, whatever I can do. I'm here.
Well, that's very, very kind and generous of you, and I'm sure there's people in the chat who will reach out to you.
Good.
Johnny Methadone says, invite this lady back, FBS. I'm sure she will come back and do more shows with you. Stay well, everyone. See you.
All
Yes,
right.
that's the plan. That's the plan. Kimberly is always, always, always welcome on any show she would like to.
Thank
As is Don, by the way, your
you.
awesome husband.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, in fact, I think I mentioned last time I was here, I was talking about how I was working on a book. And I'm very pleased and relieved to say that the book is now finished. It was like giving birth to a 200-pound watermelon over the course of 4 years. But now I'm looking for a publisher, and it should be out in 3, 4, 5 months at the most. It takes time to get these things underway, but so that'll be another time and another topic. So
yeah, and you're more than welcome to come back and tell us about that. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that I think will be very uplifting. I think, you know, for people to hear about. So yeah.
Absolutely. I'm gonna, if you have a few minutes left, Kimberly, I'm gonna ask the chat if they have any questions at all for you. Put them in the chat now. I'll do my best to get to each one of them, or at least Kimberly will.
I'll do my best. Yeah.
You're getting a lot of love in here, Kimberly.
People are. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
J-Fid said you're amazing.
Oh, thank you, J-Fid. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Really, I appreciate it, and I really appreciate all of you in more ways than you know, for coming together and for trying to you know, make a change, make an effective change. I mean, I think that's really ultimately, that is what we can do to save a life, to save the future of us as a human race, is make an effective change. And we do that with courage, and we do that with compassion and confidence. But we, you know, we must educate ourselves. We absolutely must educate ourselves. You know, there 107,477 drug-related deaths happened between August 21 and August 22. That's 107,000 people died from drug overdoses, right? 67% were fentanyl.
Really?
All right, 67% of those deaths involve synthetic opioids like fentanyl, but fentanyl. All right. Wow. So, you know, in 1 year, we have 107,000 people died, and, you know, 67% died because of synthetic opioid. There's only one synthetic opioid, it's called fentanyl. And, you know, cocaine mixed with fentanyl, methamphetamine mixed with fentanyl, heroin mixed with fentanyl, cannabis mixed with fentanyl. So, and part of the problem and the issue is, you know, very liberal prescribing of opiates, but also this incredible, massive traffic across the borders. And we have porous borders, and so it's coming in. You know, I mean, if you want to talk about controlling a population, control them by either killing them or making them totally stupid. You know, there's, you know, that's a way you can control an entire population.
It has to be. It has to be that. It has to be. I mean, there's no other.
Yeah.
Like Walt Licker has a question here, and I think this, what we were just saying, leads right into this. I don't know what you think about this, but,
you know,
I'll tell you my opinion real quick.
Yeah, please.
Everything I know about the private prison systems and the asset seizure and all the different ways that the government and private companies make money off of idiots who sell drugs.
Yeah.
Because that's honestly, I was a drug dealer, as you know, and it took me a while to realize that um, we're doing their work for them. In my opinion, the government wants to keep these, I'll say, epidemics with all these different drugs going as long as possible. It's population control, and it's highly, highly profitable.
Yeah.
And it's morons like me who actually go get these drugs and then distribute them to other people. And I think we're just doing their work for them. And this I don't believe they will legalize anything simply for the fact that like I just said, it'll cause the government to lose money, not gain any,
Mm,
and it'll take away from all their other money-making enterprises like the prison system.
correct. Yeah. I think you're really onto something there. The experiment that Portugal did, they're now doing longitudinal studies, and it's not really clear how successful this has been to decriminalize all drugs. I can tell you that in this country, by decriminalizing marijuana in numerous states, and it's sort of this wave that's been happening, right? Has been so detrimental to the teenage population in this country that we don't even know the beginning of the brain damage caused by teenagers smoking pot like it's, like cigarettes. Because the pot of today is not the marijuana that I was smoking back in the 60s.
No,
It
no,
is, 40% more potent today than it was back then. And I was smoking Thai weed, please, Vietnam era, right? Smoke the best, right?
yeah, because and not to cut you off, but I'll just say real quick, as many of the new people in here who haven't seen you before on this show, you were on once before. As many of them don't know, you actually were an addict yourself. So I just want
100%. Yeah. 41 years clean from drugs and 28 years clean from alcohol. Yeah. So I know the pain. I know the agony. I know this path. I know how hard it is, right? I know where this shit can take you, and it can take you down, because it
to.
took me down. I ended up homeless, for God's sakes, not a nice place to be, I might add. But
You didn't stay homeless for 40 years like Tony Pizza, did you?
no, no.
Okay, because that would be absurd. Who would do that?
Now there's a personality disorder, I'm afraid. God.
So I didn't want to cut you off about your answer
No,
to
no.
Liquor's question.
No, you weren't at all. No, I mean, so, just marijuana alone, what we're seeing in this country is absolutely appalling, appalling. Colorado was the first state that legalized marijuana. Okay, fine, great. I lived in Colorado back in the day, big Grateful Dead head that I was, and I smoked pot every day. Okay, fine. So now they make it legal. Great. Do you know that there were more traffic accidents due to marijuana-related driving than there were alcohol-related accidents?
That's actually very true.
Yeah.
I got in an argument with a woman when I was in rehab about that because I thought I knew everything. And it turned out she was absolutely right. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. So now we've got time, and people who do this for a living are doing these longitudinal studies, and they're only just beginning to, the tip of the iceberg is just beginning to show through. And, I have many clients whose kids are smoking pot, and there's nothing they can do about it. Virginia's made it legal. And the parents are absolutely beside themselves. These kids are, zonked out. Their grades are tanking. Doing stupid shit every day. And we have been duped by an extremely powerful lobby group.
Yeah.
The cannabis lobbying group is as powerful as Big Pharma. And they have led this country astray and down a path for which, years from now, we will look back and go, what the hell were we thinking? Were we mad? But it's the seduction of, oh, but it's an herb and it's natural.
Yeah,
Wrong. It isn't. Yeah.
I hear it all the time. I know I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do we legalize cocaine and heroin? And listen, I mean, you just go to San Francisco and see what heroin is doing. You're literally stepping over the bodies with needles in their arms. Same in New York City at Penn Station. I mean, do we want that?
Well,
Because, yeah.
I see where you're coming from with that. My thing is just that the only way to end, for instance, things like the incarceration of nonviolent drug offenders, the shootings, the drug wars, all of that stuff is to legalize it. So there, I think there's two sides to it.
Right. Yeah.
You take power from cartels. You take power from street gangs. You know what I mean? The crime rate would drop tremendously.
Well,
I believe.
Is it happening with marijuana? Right? Is it happening?
Probably not.
We don't know yet, right?
Yeah.
So we're still trying to figure that out. I mean, the drug wars right now are mostly, heroin, cocaine, what have you, right? Not too many people shooting each other up about marijuana, but the effects of marijuana on the brain, particularly of our younger people, that's really, a question mark. So I hear you, you're right, but how, I mean, I guess, in my industry, we are right now suffering the most, we are being impacted by the largest dearth of therapists in the nation, period. Okay. Yeah. We do not have enough therapists to deal or to provide services to people who need them. This is front cover of Psychology Today, Counseling Magazine. I mean, we are in a really serious situation here in this country. We don't have enough providers. So we've gone through 3 years of COVID, and we're discovering anxiety, depression, isolation, and isolating an entire population completely torqued our brains, where young people are, experiencing depression, anxiety, up the wazoo. So if we've got a drug problem, let's treat it, right? But if we're making it available, we can't treat the source of the drug problem. Right. So if you don't have enough providers, then how, then you're right. I mean, incarcerating, some pot dealer or, it's ridiculous. Incarcerate the school shooters, incarcerate this, what, right? So,
real criminals.
The real criminals, right? The real ones,
maybe some of the doctors, if they want to, imprison nonviolent drug offenders, maybe some of these doctors who do things like prescribe 6 different muscle relaxers to a woman for fibromyalgia.
Correct. Yeah. Exactly. And so, I think that this is a very important debate that we have to have in this country, but we have to really look at all of the facts and parse it out, because there's so many variables involved, right? If you have you don't, let's do it this way. You don't have you'll have someone who's a social drinker. You don't have someone who's a social heroin addict or social heroin user, I should say, right? Or a social cocaine user, because it's highly addictive. So if you're going to legalize cocaine, then you are letting sort of the Pandora's box is opening up, and now you're subjecting an entire population to massive addiction. And if you're doing that, where's the treatment? Because the insurance companies are have a chokehold on treatment, and where are the providers like me? So, you know what I mean?
I hear you. I didn't think about it from that perspective. I just my take on it was always like for instance, I never wanted to try heroin. I never had any desire. If all of a sudden the drugstore down the street starts selling it, I'm not going to be any more tempted to try it than I was in a ghetto somewhere. So, but I see where you're coming from, because you're right. If there's not enough people to provide care, should we really risk increasing the addiction rates in America? Probably not.
Right. Let's see. Route Irish or root
Yes, right.
Irish.
I
Anyway,
say root Irish or route.
root.
I think I say route Irish. Yeah, route Irish.
Okay. What's the most dangerous drug that I've had a patient deal with? Heroin. Heroin. And it was very, very tough for him to get off. And he went to treatment twice. He is still alive and is clean. It took some doing. It took actually. He had a relapse, and he was in his car and he was in a heroin nod, and I don't know if it was someone, like in the grocery store parking lot or a cop, but someone called the cops and the cops showed up, and he was unfortunately on probation. And so he went to jail because he had been on probation and, had enough heroin in the car that the prosecutor decided that he was going to get slammed for distribution as well as use. I testified in that case. And I want to tell you, I've never been so goddamn angry in my life.
Really?
I was spitting mad because this kid had done everything he possibly could. And the prosecutor was an absolute asshole. And this kid did not have to go to jail. He should have gone right back to treatment.
Yep.
That's where he should have gone. And
for them to go to treatment. The money is in jail. That's how they fucking deal with drug dealers. It's right. A shame. Excuse my language, but
no, I mean,
it pisses me off. I told a story once. I had a friend that got 33 years for selling cocaine, crack, heroin, things like that. And a few days later, I see a newspaper article of a guy who raped 3 women, and he got 4 to 8 years.
Oh, for God's sakes.
I mean, where's the justice? The discrepancy is unbelievable.
No, and I'm afraid that we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater on this issue. Particularly, I'll get into CBD definitely in a minute. Yes, thank you. Particularly when it comes to extremes of criminals have rights. So now in California, it's a big thing now. Now in California, if you steal $999.99 worth of stuff from a store, they won't prosecute you. they'll only prosecute you if you steal $1,000 worth.
What?
Yeah.
Honestly. Could you imagine a shoplifter using a calculator to
okay.
I'm not at 1,000 yet. I don't want to get arrested.
For myself, right? So as a result, now this is front page news. As a result, stores like Target and Walmart and blah blah, everything in glass cases.
Wow.
So now you got to get someone to help you to unlock the glass. Makeup, personal items, clothing. I mean, is this what it's become now? Right?
Yeah, because it's legal to steal under $1,000 worth of stuff. It's unbelievable.
Correct. Right. And the same thing for criminals that we see it every day are released over and over and over with rapists and murderers and who knows what. So our Richter scale for ethic, value, and morality has gone down the tubes, quite frankly, in my opinion. Right. Yeah. So, but let me get off my soapbox because
that's all right. Listen, we got 100 people here. That's good for an addiction recovery show. So you're doing something right.
Because one of the things about recovery is we learn how to do the next right thing, no matter what the personal consequences. We stop being, fucking idiots, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we get our heads straight, and we get our life straight, and we get our finances in order, and we get with the program, one way or the other, go back to school, get a job, make the bed, simple shit that we couldn't do when we were using because we weren't of our right minds, right? So if nothing else, recovery teaches us, to have commitment to our life and discipline and dedication, for those of us who are in, whether it's AA or refuge recovery or whatever, we follow a path with a community. We feel that support, and we know that if a meeting starts at 6 o'clock, we show up at 6 o'clock, right? We suit up and we show up, right? And that's what recovery teaches us at such an important level. And would that the larger, that those values and morals and ethics would reach more into our communities. But I think a lot of what's going on right now has really degraded our sense of right and wrong. I really do, and I'm seeing it across the board. Yeah, CBD. All right, let me address CBD, because this is very important. So, a little tiny bit of science. You have two receptors in your brain known as the C1 and the C2. And the C1 is a long neuroscience word, but basically it is this receptor that receives THC from marijuana and gets you stoned, right? It sort of has a lock and key system. You inhale or eat the marijuana. It's got THC in it, and it gets through the bloodstream, goes into your brain, and it gets into this lock and key system, and the gates open like that, and THC floods into the C1 receptor, right? And it makes you high.
Yeah.
CBD oil, and there's several kinds. There's CBD from marijuana. Then there's also a kind of extraction of CBD. There are different ways they extract the cannabinoid oil, and also it can come from hemp, which is a cousin of marijuana, but hemp is used for soap and hand cream and clothing and what have you. It doesn't get you high, right? If you take CBD, which is extracted, it goes to the C2 receptor. And the C2 receptor in your brain controls inflammation. It controls, basically, controls inflammation, right? So they are using CBD for epilepsy, Parkinson's disease. I use it for RLS. I have restless leg syndrome. And as a result of too much chemotherapy way back when I had cancer. So it kind of fried my brain. And if I don't take the medication I'm supposed to take, or if I know that I'm having a bad night, I'll take CBD and it stops it, like dead in its tracks. And
oh, really?
Unbelievable. So like my client that's on 6 different meds for fibromyalgia, I told her, you get off all of it, do a detox, and start taking CBD along with doing yoga and, whatever, right? I mean, move the joints and, but CBD can be extremely helpful for anxiety, for sleep. And again, they're using it for Parkinson's disease because it stops the shaking, which is caused by inflammation of the brain.
Wow. So you actually recommend it to people in recovery?
Oh yeah, because I was I have to tell you a story. I was in my yoga training years ago, and I've also had Lyme disease and I don't know what ridiculous nonsense, but I was having a knee issue, and someone said, "Oh, I've got some CBD. You should take the CBD." I'm like, "Hell no! I'm not having anything to do with marijuana. I'm in recovery. Get away from me, right?" And I was really like reactive, and went to my room and instantly started researching, right, which I do, and come to find out that my hero, Dr. Nora Volko, who is the head of the National Institute of Drug Abuse, had testified to Congress about CBD and the benefits and this whole thing about the receptors and what makes you stoned, what doesn't make you stoned, and what properties are, and this and that and the other. I mean, I got lost in a rabbit hole of science for a couple of days. And after my yoga training, I was in New York, and there was a beautiful store that I went into, and they had a whole array of CBD. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try it. Right. So I bought a bottle and took some that evening. Husband said I slept like the dead. I didn't move. And normally I'm like a stallion. I mean, I'll move all night long. I'm moving. And he said, never moved. And I woke up and I felt refreshed. I felt calm. I felt like, wow, I really slept. Like, wow. That's what a good night's sleep is about. I'll take more of that. Thank you. So I have really done the research, looked into it left, right, and center. And if clients are experiencing anxiety, I recommend that they do CBD instead of smoking pot, because you're not going to get high, but you're still going to get the effect of calming down, because that's what the C2 receptor does.
So do you say, like me, for instance, I would never smoke marijuana because I feel like I'd be,
No.
I wouldn't be clean and sober anymore.
Exactly.
So you
right.
see CBD as a different thing, because I refused to take CBD all these years because,
So you don't buy this at a head shop. You buy this at a proper online, a proper company that specializes in CBD. All right. The stuff they get at the head shop, you could open the bottle, it stinks of cannabis. So
really?
It's bullshit, right? It's real bullshit. It's crap. We have a place here called District Hemp, and it's a hemp store, and they have CBD left, right, and center, all extracted from hemp. And when I went there, when they first opened, this young man who happens to have, like a degree in chemistry, I don't know what, was explaining all of the different things related to CBD. And there are different variants of how they extract, and whether it's a full extraction or a partial extraction will determine if the strength or the potency of the CBD. So a really good CBD product, unfortunately, the company that I used went out of business because of these big companies, right? But there are some big companies that are very reputable. And the thing to know is that there's 0.03% THC in CBD. But if you get, that's one kind. If you get the full extraction kind, there's 0% of THC. Now, 0.03% of THC is not going to do anything to you at all.
Okay.
But it's better to get the full extraction, the 100% extracted CBD, because that has 0% THC. So you always have to ask, or look on the label, or, make sure that it has 0%. So you're not ingesting marijuana on any level. You're not ingesting THC on any level. You will not get high at all. Because the product, the component of CBD will go only to the C2 receptor.
Oh, okay.
So Michael, Michelle, oh God, these names.
Mikhail, I believe.
Mikhail, sorry, I love these names. I love the handles. Okay, CBD is great. Use it before I go to sleep. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people don't find help with melatonin, and so I tell them to take CBD because it's a calming agent. You see, the C2 is calming. Yes, right. Very well done.
I don't mean to distract you when I switch comments.
Right. Ranger fan, absolutely right. So I had another company for a while where I was doing security clearance evaluations, and I had a lot of people who had been popped for urine tests, and they had THC in their urine. And lo and behold, they had been taking CBD, but they'd been doing the CBD that had a 0.03, 0.04%, right?
Okay.
So they'd taken the wrong kind. All right.
Gotcha.
So, I did so much research because the government, to argue with the government and get someone's security clearance back is like virtually impossible. But I made good arguments at the end of the day, and a couple of people got their jobs back. But so these companies, you have to be careful. So again, the consumer has to educate themselves. Obviously, if you're going to go in a head shop and get CBD, it's going to be, you can smell it. You can smell the marijuana. It reeks of marijuana. It's disgusting. You don't want that. If you're doing hemp, it should be in a coconut oil base. And so it's not going to have this strong smell, nor is it going to have a strong taste. And if it's done properly, then it's going to have 0% THC. And that's what you want, is the 0%. That way you're not risking anything, not risking a job, or not risking anything, not risking your recovery, nothing.
That's great information. That really is. I did not know any of this. I thought I knew what I was talking about as usual, and I had no idea. So thank you, Kimberly. Thank
That's
you
why you
for
need a
filling us in.
science nerd like me.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. It's this is why everybody in here is so grateful, as you can see,
That's
to
really
have had you on, as am I. This was
oh,
wonderful, Kimberly. Thank you. Oh, and I have to make an announcement, by the way.
please.
Your husband does text me and put me in my place and let me know what I am forgetting from time to time. So apparently you are going to be, I'm sorry, not you, special guest co-host, Don Berlin, will be joining Jimmy Calandra on Sunday at 1 o'clock to talk about world events and sad events. Feel free to tune in. I have to plug your husband's appearance on Jimmy Calandra's channel.
All right, good for him, right? You heard it here first, right?
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I will be watching, definitely.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Now, the that you bring to this show, and your husband as well, is so very valuable. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
So
I hope I've been able to bring some sort of sense of relief, or some sense of healing of the grief and the trauma, collective trauma that you're all experiencing. So, and if I didn't address it enough, please feel free to text me, and happy to text, or and if you really need therapeutic services, I'm always available to talk about that as well. So
that's awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. We've been on an hour and a half. I don't want to keep you too long, and I have some things.
It doesn't feel like that, does it? Right? So
it goes so fast. Sometimes I'm sitting here talking, I look up, I've been on 3 hours. I'm like, wow, it's amazing. So
well, thank you for your patience with me, and thank you for having me, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome back anytime, Kimberly. I'll talk to you soon.
God bless. Thank you.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. How about that? Oh, of course, Gemini 44. This was, of course, a Don Berlin idea, and his ideas never fail. So thank you, Don, and thank you so much, Kimberly. I would absolutely put this up there with one of my best shows ever, and I do not attribute that to myself. I don't give myself the credit. All the credit goes to Kimberly Berlin. So yeah, it really was. So this was fantastic. This was fantastic. And we will be having Kimberly back on again, maybe as soon as next week. So there will be a lot more information I'm sure she can provide to you guys about the topics of addiction and recovery, about fentanyl, about grief counseling, about all that stuff. So I hope everybody appreciated this and enjoyed it. I hope everybody gained some comfort from this, especially the people who are, I'm trying to be careful using the word grieving because Mims is still with us, but you know what I'm saying. Grieving this tragedy. I hope that this helped in some way. If I could provide that to you guys, it means the world to me. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do now, guys. Before I talk too much and fuck the whole show up, I want to end it on a, I want to end it perfect, and I think it's been perfect so far. All except for my part. Me being on here automatically fucked it all up. But I couldn't have Kimberly run the show by herself. What can I say? Um, this was my plan for the day. This was my plan. Let me talk to you guys for a second. Um, Obviously, this issue is lurking about SoFlo and Gunsmoke and Mustache Pete. Also, there's a lot of questions being asked about something I said about Robert Rosso. And I'm the type of guy that addresses things. I don't hide from them, I don't avoid them. And I feel the need now to do another show today, even though my plan was not to. My plan was to do this show and be done so I could spend the night with my beautiful wife, Shannon. And I'm still going to stick to that to an extent because I'm not coming on here at 10 o'clock tonight. I'm not coming on at 9. I'm not even coming on at 8. This is what I will do. I have to talk to some people, as you can imagine. I have to get some people's opinions on things. I have to talk to my friends and see where their heads are at. And I'm going to come back on at the latest 7 o'clock, and I will address all these issues. Those of you that are okay with my answers, good. Those of you who aren't, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. And that's what I'm going to do. So I will be back on by 7 o'clock, but hopefully before that. This way I can end the show as soon as I'm done and I can enjoy my night. Okay? So thank you, Miss Campurone. Thank you, thank you. And all my friends, I hope you all trust me in my judgment at this moment because this is a delicate situation going on. Thank you, JFid. Thank you, thank you. I do my best. I'm really, really a babbling idiot, and it's hard for me not to fuck good things like this up. So I try my best. Thank you for all your input too, JFid, Gemini, and everyone in the chat who was commenting and asking questions. And Gemini, I admire you for pushing this get Narcan thing. I think we should all make it a mission. And I also want to say there was somebody else that was lost in the mix here, and some people might be surprised to hear me. This is actually not the first fentanyl tragedy to hit MobTube. And I know that Mims, it's some people want to see her as a member of MobTube. Some people don't, whatever. I consider her, and as the king of MobTube, I have every right to do this. I considered her a member of our community. Um, she added a lot to my channel and my show for the brief time she was a part of it. And I see her as a part of this community as well as her own community. Okay. But I want to add that there was another loss, although it was, well, I won't get into to who her father was. It doesn't matter. But Chelsea Alight, okay. Um, I believe it was in August. Chelsea Alight, who was not a part of this community, but was the daughter of a man that I guess you could say this whole community was started around. I mean, it was started to go after this man, and although some of us do not like him or have had hard feelings towards him or just are not fans of his in general, although that's the case with him, his daughter. Uh, you know, she was her own person. She had kids, and she did lose her life to fentanyl. And because of that, I have said I will never speak a bad word about her father again, and I plan on sticking to that. And I just want to also honor the memory of Chelsea too, because she was the first person in this community to lose her life, or like I said, not part of this community, but you know what I'm saying. First person attached to this community in some way that has lost her life to fentanyl. So I want to remember her too while we're talking about this horrible drug and that surrounds it. So yeah, Christopher Capello to some extent, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Sally Lou. So I just wanted to say that at the end. I did not want to forget about Chelsea. I think her memory should be honored as well. And we should make her memory part of this mission to talk about the fentanyl uh, epidemic, to bring attention to it, and to push this Get Narcan movement. So my hearts go out to both of these women and their families, and I just want them both to be remembered. Thank you, John DeLong. Sorry if I didn't say that perfectly eloquently, and maybe I wasn't as well spoken as I would like to be, but it's off the top of my head, and it's just something that I wanted to mention to you guys. So that's it, guys. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, and I want to thank even after I made the request that nobody donates during the show. A very good man named James sent $50 and said, just because I might not be doing another show, he just wanted to send that to me, and I thank you, James, very, very much for that. So that's it, guys. That's it. I'm ending this show now, and I will see you guys shortly. Please, before I go, write down these numbers. Okay, write down Kimberly's phone number, write down her email, and write down the phone number to the National Addiction Hotline and the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And you know my spiel. Keep it with you. Put it on the fridge. Keep it in your purse, your pocket, your wallet, your man bag, your fanny pack. If you're a kangaroo, put it in your pouch. Keep it somewhere close by. And get Narcan and do the same with that. Okay? These numbers can be very helpful, even life saving, and Narcan certainly can as well. So that's something I'm going to add. We all need to keep near and dear to us and possibly on us at all times. All right, guys. Thank you for everything. I love you all. And until next time, salute.